David Mitchell, thanks very much for coming on the programme. So we just heard your Prime Minister speak to the General Assembly, lots of people walking out. I mean, is this unprecedented isolation for Israel?
Not at all. I think you saw today the Prime Minister representing his people with pride in a way which almost no other person in Israel can do, eloquently, with distinction, and I think with detail, to push back on the lies that have been told about Israel for almost 2 years now. Those guys walked out, it's true, but still we believe that our message was heard today, a powerful message that Israel wants this war to be over when our hostages are home and when Hamas lay down their arms.
But you are getting more and more isolated, not just here, but across the board. So you've got, international sporting events cancelling Israel, the Eurovision Song Contest possibly cancelling Israel. You've got your best friends in Europe recognising the state of Palestine. And perhaps most importantly, your best friend in the world, Donald Trump, saying about any plans to annex the West Bank, it's not going to happen. And I wonder whether you regret especially the attack on Qatar the other day to take out the Hamas office there, because the Americans were very upset.
Israel has never had a friend like Donald Trump in the White House. The Prime Minister on Monday is going for an unprecedented fourth visit. And that's just since...
Perhaps to get a dressing down, though,
Not at all. That is just since Donald Trump returned to the White House. So a fourth visit, that is unprecedented. No other country has had that sort of reception by this White House. And President Trump, look, he gets Israel. He understands the precarious nature in which our country finds itself. He joined Israel in defeating the Iranian nuclear menace. And we've had no better friend than the US president.
But he's
We're
also
very
said
grateful
very
of
clearly
that.
you cannot annex the West Bank, and we know that that plan, was being discussed in the Israeli cabinet. So he's set down a red line. Are you prepared to cross that red line?
Look, our Prime Minister has said very, very clearly that this is a subject will be discussed in Israel after our return from the US. So I haven't got anything further to say on that point, but I will tell you that these areas we're talking about, their names are Judea. Judea and Samaria.
Not to
Judea,
the Palestinians who live there.
Judea.
They call it something
yes,
else.
but of course our history goes back 3,000 years, which is before the
Palestinians.
Palestinian.
That's their home.
The Palestinian.
They live there. These are their communities.
I'm not denying that. Of course they live there. No one is denying that. But I'm also saying to you that Jews come from Judea.
Yeah.
These are ancient Jewish homelands. This is where Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the forefathers of our nation, are buried. They're very important to this country.
Can we talk less
and
about
they
the Old
always will
Testament
be.
and more about the reality today?
I'm happy
so
to, Matt.
when Israeli settlers go in and attack Palestinian communities in order to intimidate people to get out or just kill a few of them, do you approve of that?
Look, lawlessness is never to be approved by a democratic country. Of course it's not. And where there is
But
wrongdoing,
you're permitting it in the West
where
Bank.
there is wrongdoing, of course our police and our security forces stand up to it. But I will say to you this very, very clearly. It's important to understand that these incidents pale into insignificance in terms of the number and also the scale when it comes to the terrorism which Israeli people living in those areas face day in, day out. They pale into insignificance.
And
they are a minority, which unfortunately international media loves to speak of.
And that number pales into insignificance compared to the 65,000 dead in Gaza, many of them women and children, the wholesale destruction of the Gaza Strip, which has now been rendered into an unviable economic or social unit. I mean, what is the policy there? Is it ethnic cleansing? Is it genocide? What is it?
So Matt, I'm a little bit surprised at you, an experienced journalist, a grandee of British journalism, quoting to me the figures of a terrorist organisation. You wouldn't take Al-Qaeda's name for it.
This is the Palestinian Authority.
Yes,
who
you
are
wouldn't
reporting
take.
These numbers. These numbers
you
have
wouldn't
not been
take
disputed by the
Al-Qaeda.
international community.
No, well,
and all you have to see is the
these
levels
figures
of
are
destruction.
false. They are Hamas figures.
Well, why don't you let us, David Mitchell, why don't you let us go in and report
hundreds
ourselves?
Of journalists
you won't
have
let
been
us in.
Hundreds of international journalists have been into Israel.
With
hundreds.
the IDF on very
yes,
controlled
and that's
embassies.
right. Because
But
we
that's
don't
not
want
the
you to
same,
get
is it?
killed.
Oh, well,
yes, Matt.
by you.
We don't
By
want
the
you to get
Israeli
killed.
army.
No, that's
Right.
insulting.
Right.
Okay,
but
because
also,
our
you've
country,
killed 240
our country
Palestinian
is the
journalists.
only.
I mean, this body here, the United Nations, and hundreds of legal experts have come to the conclusion that what you're doing in the Gaza Strip is an act of genocide. This is the country that was itself, people were subject to the worst genocide, or one of the worst acts of genocide ever committed in the history of humankind. Now that you're being accused of the same thing in the Gaza Strip, what is your reaction to that? Does it make you feel shame? Does it make you reflect on what's been going on? Or do you just think, well, the international community is lying?
Matt, I'll tell you how I feel as a representative and a spokesman of Israel's government. I feel pride.
Pride?
I feel honour.
Pride in genocide?